His name is Joseph Biden, and he's from Delaware. He was elected in 1972 at the age of 29. A few days later, his wife and one of his 3 children were killed in an automobile crash. Joe Biden almost didn't come to Washington, but the gentle urging of friends, including Senator Mike Mansfield, persuaded him in the end that he had to. He has been here now for 15 eye-opening months. Senator, just about everyone runs for office thinking that he can really change the system, that when he gets down here, he can make a difference. Do you think you can make a difference?
I think I can make a difference. I don't think I can change the system. I've been surprised. I think that one senator, whether he be a freshman or a senior member, can make a difference in the Senate. But what equally surprises me is the lack of difference the Senate makes on the body politic. That institution, which I'm looking at, that dome up there, has really become a fairly useless organ of government, and the people know that. For example, can you think of anything since civil rights legislation, probably, where the Senate has made a difference, where the Senate has affected a major substantive issue and changed the direction of the country in any way, either in foreign policy or in domestic policy or even wage and price control, anything?
Have the events of this year in particular compounded that sense of inertia and futility?
Yes, I think they have, because we've had an opportunity in the Senate and the Congress as a whole, but I'll just speak to the Senate in particular. We've had an opportunity to really begin to redress that imbalance. For example, impoundment or executive privilege or any of the issues that focus on the imbalance between the executive and legislative branch of government. But we're not. All we've done is brought a president to his knees. But what happens, I have no faith that if we elect, quote, a liberal, democratic president next time, it's going to change it all. I mean, what's going to change?
What does this add up to? Does it come to what Gordon Strachan said to young people on national television, don't come to Washington?
It adds up to the exact opposite thing. That's all the more reason why young people have got to come to Washington, because the reason I think Watergate's going to turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to this country, because I think it's taught us that democracy is not some sort of vending machine that's stocked with creature comforts and you put in a quarter and out it comes. They find out these guys in here are fallible and they don't do their job, myself included, that the president is not any better. And I think one thing it should do is teach young people they've got to get into the system. They've got to get in to make a difference.
Why have you taken such a conspicuous role in the public financing issue of elections this year?
Well, maybe it's because I've just recently come off having to finance an election, so it's fresh. But I think, more importantly, until we change the means by which we elect men and women to public office, we are not going to change the institutions, because, as I said, it's the politicians who run those institutions.
How did you raise money for your campaign?
Well, I went around to the, quote, fat cats, the traditional sources. I was willing to deal. No one tried to buy my vote, but here they do things like this. You know, I spoke to a labor union guy and sat down. They offer you the cup of coffee and they say, how have you been, and how the wife and kids, and then they say, why can you win? And you go through that litany, and then they get right. They said, I'd like to get right down to it, Joe. Had you been in the 92nd Congress, how would you have voted on the SST and bailing out Lockheed? Now look, I'm young, but I'm not that stupid. I knew the right answer for $5,000. I gave the wrong answer and didn't get the $5,000. You know, I told them, well, I wouldn't have bailed out Lockheed, and I wouldn't have, and, you know, went on from there. And they said, well, gee, nice talking to you. Good to see you. Come back, you know, that kind of thing. The same way with industry, you know, same way with the wealthy guys.
And yet you won despite that. And tell me, why should the public finance Joe Biden's ambition to be in the United States Senate?
Because with the cost of campaigning escalating so much, Mr. Moyers, it's changed since you've been here. If I ran when you were down here, I could have run for $100,000 in Delaware and had plenty to spend. I could raise half of that from personal friends. I wouldn't have to go out. But when you up the ante so much, it costs $300,000 to challenge. If you're in California, it costs you $3 million to challenge. You can't go around to people who don't have a whole lot of money. You got to go to the big guy.
Wouldn't it be better to put a limit on the amount you can spend rather than letting you raise as much as you want to raise?
Okay, yes, I think there should be a limit, but it's important that we who are incumbents, who sound like we're so concerned, don't put too much of a limit on. Because if I'd be willing, for example, out of a selfish motivation to say, nobody can spend more than $100,000 in Delaware. We set that limit, no one will ever beat me. For example, how much would it cost me to pay for this show? I'm going to get national publicity from speaking to you. Why did you ask me? Because I'm a challenger. I'm an incumbent senator. This is free publicity to me. A challenger coming up against me can't get it. He can't even get an interview with you. So, where's he going to get it? So it's important that we give the challenger an edge financially.
And you tell me you're about to walk from here into the Senate chamber and face all those incumbents?
Sure, because you know what? Those incumbents are smartening up, too. Not even the most bought person likes being bought. Nobody likes that, no matter how bought they may be. And I don't mean bought in the sense that anybody in there that I don't think, no one I know do I think is getting anything under the table or, building an addition on their house kind of thing. I think you're bought in the sense that you become a victim of those major groups you represent.